ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Ravens, Bucs. Wow. Not wow because the outcome of the game was that surprising. The Bucs have been struggling. It's not a surprise. Not wow because the Ravens are really good or even the Bucs are really bad. But the Bucs are trash. I mean, let's keep it a buck. That's not a good football team we watched tonight. They came out like they were about to blow the doors off of the Ravens and get right tonight. They had every opportunity. Defense was playing well early. They gave them great field position time after time after time. And Brady and company squandered those opportunities. And once we got to the second half, those opportunities ceased to exist. The Ravens started to wear on that Buccaneers defense, started to run the football, impose their will, and ultimately the Buccaneers could not get the stops necessary to give themselves a chance to win this game. But I'll take it a step further before we talk Baltimore, because they won the game. So to the victors go the spoils. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to be the second worst red zone offense. I don't have any statistics in front of me. Okay. I can't confirm nor deny this next statement that I'm going to make, but they've got to be the second worst red zone team in football. We know they're not the worst. We've watched just about every single Denver Broncos game this season. Unfortunately, we've been tortured by having to watch Denver Broncos football games this season, and just about every single one of them have been on TV. And so we know how bad the Broncos have been, historically bad in the red zone. So they're not as bad as them, but they've got to be close, because I'm thinking about that first game of the season against Dallas and how they got into the red zone at least 4 or 5 times that night and kicked at least 4 or 5 field goals and won that game 19-3. And I very vividly remember that night saying, wow, either Dallas's defense is really good or Tampa Bay's offense not that good in the red zone. It's one of those situations where, hey, you know what? Both things can be true. I thought it was one or the other. Maybe this is an omen that Dallas's defense is going to be really good this year. Well, their defense is really good this year. And I said, well, maybe Tampa Bay just doesn't have their guys in sync. Brady missed, a couple of weeks in training camp, try to handle some personal stuff. And, everybody's using the preseason to develop young guys and take a look at these young players, and they're not actually getting their real players on the field, and maybe they didn't get enough red zone work. It's early. We'll see what happens. No, it's 7 weeks later, and they still stink in the red zone. I remember the Green Bay game. They were awful in the red zone in that game. Green Bay was as well. That game should not have been as close as it ultimately was. But you just think about Tampa Bay this year and the struggles that they've had in the red zone, and you see why they're 3-5. Not to mention, Tom Brady doesn't look finished, okay? He doesn't look like a quarterback that doesn't have anything left. He's just not in sync with these guys. He misses a wide open Kyle Rudolph, and yes, in the NFL, that's wide open. For Tom Brady, who I've seen be surgical with the football for over 2 decades, that's wide open in the end zone, and he misses him by a full 2 yards. And all Brady can do is just pat his chest like, that's my fault. Like, he's just off. He should have been picked off like 3 times tonight. Then he takes all of these sacks, and I'm like, bro, throw it away. Do something with it. Don't take a sack there. There's certain times when you go, okay, eat it, take a sack, live to fight another day. I get it. Right before the half, you're driving, and I think it was a situation where if you throw the football up, it gets picked off. Who cares? It's the end of the first half. Don't take a sack. What are you doing? Give your guy a chance. It's third. You know what? It was third down. It was third down in the second half. And I'm like, dude, Mike Evans is down the field double covered, and you don't want to let it rip? For what? You're going to punt even if you don't complete the pass. Either it's going to be picked off, incomplete, or pass interference, or, the least likely of the scenarios is your guy comes down with it, but give him a chance. Just give him a chance. He takes a sack. He falls down in the fetal position and takes a sack. The Buccaneers are out of sync. They look lethargic. I've contended that Todd Bowles is a nice guy. Hell of a defensive coordinator. He's like the Norv Turner of defensive coordinators. Hell of a nice guy. Great defensive coordinator. Can scheme it up with the best of them. Not the guy you want running your program. Brady right now is playing like a guy that's skipping out on Friday walkthrough to go party at Robert Kraft's wedding. That's what he looks like on the field. He looks like a guy that's not in sync with his players. He looks like the guy that's taking Wednesdays off. Okay? He looks like the guy that decided to skip out of 2 weeks of training camp. He looks like a guy that signed one of the most lucrative, deals to be an analyst before your career's over in history. He looks like that guy. These are all the things that I talked about before the season started. And I couldn't have known that he was going to skip out on a Friday walkthrough to go to Robert Kraft's wedding. I couldn't have known that every Wednesday he was going to not be practicing because he's Tom Brady and he doesn't give a shit. He can do that. But I did know that he signed a lucrative deal, which means he's already thinking post-playing career. He's already thinking retirement, 1 foot out the door. You can't win in this league doing that shit. And Todd Bowles can tell us all he wants that no one else is getting preferential treatment, including Tom Brady. I do this for all of my players. Bullshit. I guarantee you Devin White isn't allowed to go to his buddy's wedding on a Friday before a game on Sunday. Try again, okay? Try again. Vita Vea isn't skipping out to go to, Marcus Mariota's wedding on a Friday. Not happening. Try again. So, yeah, I'm not buying that. They're in disarray, are the Bucs. They are in absolute freefall mode. And the crazy part is they're still going to win that stinking ass NFC South division. I've been there before. Don't feel bad, okay? I've been in a division that looks like that division, okay? Somebody's got to win it. Atlanta's got a great opportunity to take the lead. They play Carolina this week. Should be fun. That division's going to come down to the end. And I still think Tampa's going to win the division by default. But don't sleep on Atlanta, man. They've been playing some good football this year. So, anyway, let's get to the Ravens. Enough of the Buccaneers. They stink. I'm not impressed with Baltimore. I have to say this. I'm not impressed with the Ravens, but it's not about being impressed. It's not about style points. This is not college football. You don't get points based on how good you looked and how big of a margin of victory you win by. It just get a dub. Just put another mark in the left-hand column. That's what they did tonight. Ravens could easily be, 7-1 right now, but they're not. They're not. You could argue they could be 8-0 because they've led in every single one of the games that they've lost in the fourth quarter, and not just any leads. They've been up by a substantial amount in a couple of these games, specifically the Giants game and the Dolphins game in particular, but they've led in the fourth quarter of every single game they've played this season, and somehow they're only 5-3. I don't love their defense, but they got it done tonight. I still think they're lacking in the pass rushing department. I thought the run defense was better tonight, but the Bucs stink running the football, so kind of hard to really gauge if the run defense is actually legit or if they're just playing an opponent that can't run the football. Either way, they took care of business there. I don't really care what the reason was. They stopped the run, and they forced Tom Brady to have to beat them with his right arm, and he wasn't capable of doing that tonight and hasn't really been capable of doing that against any opponent for that matter this season. So I have to give them credit there. The offense, I really don't worry about the offense in Baltimore. To me, it's all about this defense because even though Lamar has had some meltdowns at the end of some of these games, most notably the Giants game, I always just have confidence that they'll figure a way to get it done. His legs, I love Isaiah Likely. He was a preseason darling. You have the injury to Mark Andrews, and boom, he comes in tonight and really picks up the slack. We know Lamar loves his tight ends. And Isaiah Likely looks like he's going to be a damn good one for the Ravens for years to come. And, Bateman leaves the game early. Andrews leaves the game. And you look at all those are some big-time weapons for the Ravens. They didn't miss a beat, especially in the second half of this game. They started really slow, and that's the opportunity that Tampa Bay had. They were up 10-3. They were driving again. I thought the game changed, and this is really small, and it's not even, a really big play in the grand scheme of things, but it felt like that's when things shifted. Brady threw a third down pass to Chris Godwin. And Godwin is backpedaling, trying to get the first down as he's catching it simultaneously. The safety comes up. I think it was Geno Stone comes up, hits him right on the arm, and his arm kind of goes numb. He drops the football. They have to punt. They had great field position. He catches that football. They're right around midfield. They had all the momentum. They had already scored on 2 previous possessions. It felt like that was the opportunity to deliver the knockout blow. Instead, he drops the football. They have to punt. And they never really had any offensive rhythm from that point forward the remainder of the game. I mean, you think about even the field goal attempts that they had. You get one on a Scotty Miller pass interference, which got them down there. You get a Mike Evans deep ball catch that got him down there again. Both of those ended up being field goal attempts. They didn't sustain offense. It was big plays that got them down there. And then they couldn't cash in because their red zone offense stinks. And you got to give the credit to the Ravens for keeping them out of the end zone. Even though the Bucs are already a bad red zone offense, you still got to make the plays to keep them out of the end zone. And that they did. They easily could have picked Brady off multiple times in the red zone because he was making some poor decisions, whether he was falling down on the ground to take a sack or he was throwing the football. There was a throw back of the end zone. I think they ultimately scored on that possession, a touchdown anyway, though. But, he had Mike Evans wide open in the back of the end zone. Brady throws the shit 15 yards in the air, and Mike can't get his second foot down. I'm like, what kind of a throw is that, Tom? Like, Thomas is tripping right now. But all in all, I like this Ravens offense. Love the fact that Gus, Edwards goes down and you get contributions from Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill. Like, it just the party doesn't stop in Baltimore. They've dealt with injuries before. It's next man up mentality. No Rashad Bateman, fine. We'll hand it to Devin Duvernay. All right, Mark Andrews goes down. All right, Isaiah Likely, you step in and you give us work. All right. Having some issues in the backfield. Gus goes down. You're already without J.K. Dobbins. All right, Justice Hill. No, you fumbled last week. We're still going to give you the rock and have confidence that you're going to take care of business late in this ball game. Kenyon Drake, you step in there and you get you some. Like, again, it just, they don't stop. They come at you in waves, and then Lamar is just the icing on the cake. When you start having to account for him, I thought they had a beautiful play call where they roll him out. It looks like it's going to be a student body right play. And instead, Isaiah Likely sneaks behind the backers and comes out on a bench route, and he hits him. And it's just little plays like that where you go, that's creativity. That's using your quarterback. That's using the defense's aggressiveness against them. I thought the Ravens did a great job in the second half of just controlling the tempo, controlling the pace, controlling time of possession, grinding out yards, getting first downs, sustaining offense. And unlike the Buccaneers, they were able to deposit the football into the end zone and put up touchdowns instead of settling for field goals. And I tell you guys this all the time. If you want to know why the outcome of a game was reached, it's very simple for me. Just go to 2 categories in particular. Usually that will tell you the story. Not all the time. I'd say 90% of the time, these 2 categories will give you all you need to know. You go straight to turnovers and you go straight to red zone efficiency. Let's go straight to those 2 categories tonight. And I think in that, you will find the difference in this game. And we already know that I think each team turned it over once in this game, if I'm not mistaken. No, Tampa Bay turned it over once. Baltimore did not. I don't know why I was thinking Baltimore muffed a punt, but that was Tampa Bay who did that, right? I mean, even that, sequence, you get a stop on the first possession of the game, you're feeling good, and your gunner or your blocker on the gunner doesn't know where the ball is. runs into his guy, allows himself to be blocked into Jalen Darden, and boom, Ravens. And the defense stood up, forced a field goal. That's a huge momentum shift. That's sudden change of possession. They come out and they find a way to defend probably every bit of 12 yards of grass. It's a great play it's a great sequence there by the defense. You got all the momentum. Offense gets the football, move it right down the field, score a touchdown, take the lead 7-3, get the football again, get a field goal. It's 10-3. And then I thought the defense was dominating. They had a 3rd and 36 after Lamar Jackson was sacked on one play and then had an intentional grounding on another play. And they're rocking. They're punting from their own ends. There that I talked about where you didn't have the catch by Chris Godwin and they wasted field position. They had like 2 or 3 possessions with prime real estate and they just couldn't do anything with it. And at that moment I said they're going to mess around and allow this game to be a lot closer. I never thought they were going to lose this game until Baltimore took the lead 17-10. That's when I said, oh shit, they about to lose this game. They about to lose this game. Red zone efficiency. Neither one of these teams were very good in the red zone. Ravens were 3 of 6. Bucs were 2 of 5. All right, but here's the difference. Tampa Bay, 2 touchdowns. Baltimore, 3 touchdowns. There's your difference. Both teams struggled. One was 50%, the other was 40%. But the 50% team won the game. Why? Because they scored an extra touchdown. Had Tampa Bay held them to 1 less touchdown, they might win this football game. Who knows? But that's how the cookie crumbles. You go to that stat, and it usually tells the story. One team was 50%, the other was 40%. The 50% team got it done. The 40% team goes home a loser. Bucs are now 3 and 5. Ravens are now 5 and 3. And I think the Ravens are the class of the AFC North division. The Bengals got devastating news today that Jamar Chase is out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury. That's going to hurt them. But even if he were healthy, I still think this is Baltimore's division. I'm still not sold on their defense. I still think you can throw the football on this team. I don't think they get good pressure on the quarterback. I like their secondary. I don't love their secondary. I still think they're a work in progress. But they got it done tonight. And it wasn't pretty early. This thing could have gotten out of control, and you got to give the Ravens defense some credit because their backs were up against the wall. Their offense was not helping them early in this game. They were not helping them. They were ending up in some tough spots defensively because the offense was going either in reverse or they weren't sustaining offense, and they were punting the football and giving Tampa Bay great field position. But they kept getting stops, and that's what kept Baltimore in this game. If this thing had gotten to 17-3 or 20-3, Baltimore would have been cooked in this game. But Tampa could never seize control. They kept letting Baltimore hang around. I said, the longer you let this thing sit at 10-3, the more likely it is you're going to ultimately find yourself losing this football game. And that's exactly what happened to the Buccaneers. They never fully took advantage of all the opportunities that were being presented to them. And thus, they let a dangerous team hang around and ultimately steal the football game. I don't even know if I should say steal the football game from them because they dominated them in the second half. They took this game from them in the second half of this game. So, got a super chat. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Sup, Lou? It's week 8 already. Damn. We just started. My guy Reed would say this every year. He's like, damn, Lou, it goes by so quick. And every year I'd be like, man, you ain't lying, Reed. And just like you said, Juan Gotti, it feels like yesterday we were hyped for the first game of the season. Talking about 12-5, 11-6, how explosive and dynamic this offense has a chance to be. This, that, and the third. Carson Wentz is going to prove everyone wrong. Man, Russell Wilson and the Broncos are going to be a tough team to deal with. They're going to be the next team that switches quarterbacks and wins the Super Bowl. All kinds of foolishness just 8 weeks ago. And now we sit here 8 weeks into the season in one of the wackiest NFL seasons in recent memory. I mean, shit's upside down. Brady's 3-5. Rodgers about to be 3-5. The Rams are probably going to be 3-4 because they don't know how to beat the San Francisco 49ers. The Jets are 5-2. The Giants are 6-1. What in the hell is going on out there? I mean, shit's crazy. Absolutely bonkers this league is this year. And no one can figure this shit out. Especially not me. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I said, man, I'm being penalized for being too damn rational. Logic is the word he used. That's the perfect way to frame it and phrase it. I'm being penalized for being too logical. Logic does you no good this year because everything that has made sense historically doesn't make sense this year. And even in the context of this season where you see a team, they're supposed to win, they don't win. Nothing makes sense this year. And you've got to walk that fine line between picking upsets because they're going to be upsets. If nothing else has been shown to you this season, it's that they're going to be upsets. You just got to pick the right ones, and you can't go overboard doing it, or else you'll find yourself going too far to the other end of the spectrum. You'll find yourself drowning in the deep end with losses because you decided you wanted to pick 5 underdogs. Well, 2 of them won, but then 3 lost, so you ended up with a -1. It's tough. Which ones do you choose? Who's going to get it done for you? You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like this has got to be the week the Giants lose. This has got to be the week that the Jets lose, right? No, it doesn't have to be. They don't have to lose. It's tough sledding, man. Thank you for that super chat. Juan Gotti, talking sports. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, sup, Lou? Sup, video channel? He said, give Tom Brady some marriage advice. I try to stay out of that lane. My marriage is good. I'm not worried about anybody else's. I can tell you this. Don't lie to your wife. It's pretty simple. Don't tell her one thing and then do something else. It's not hard. So it is what it is. I can tell you this much. His personal life and some of the decisions he's making is affecting his play on the field. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I was talking to my buddy, during the game, and I said, here's the problem. Todd Bowles is a nice guy. And I can tell you right now, this shit would not be happening on the watch of one Uncle Bruce. Bruce Arians wouldn't be going for this shit. Bruce Arians ain't going for no goddamn Friday walkthrough. You going to Robert Kraft's party. Oh, no, Tom, don't worry about it. Y'all ain't undefeated. Y'all struggling. The hell's he doing at a party? Y'all got the Falcons coming up. Easily could have lost that game too. I've been adamant saying this. I can't confirm nor deny this. I don't know this to be true. I feel like this is true. Told my buddy this earlier today. Tom Brady retired because he didn't want to be coached by Bruce Arians. He never wanted to retire. He never wanted to stop playing football. But he didn't want to play for Bruce Arians again. Because Bruce wasn't taking any shit. Brady wanted to have fun, have his cake, and eat it too. And Bruce was like, nah, you're going to be one of the dudes. You're not going to be just Tom Brady and doing your own thing off to the side. You're going to abide by the rules. And if you F up, I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. How many times did we see Bruce Arians after a game call Tom Brady out on his bullshit? Hey, Tom wasn't good today. Tom missed a bunch of throws. Tom doesn't like that shit. You can criticize me. You can chastise me behind closed doors because no one's harder on me than me. That's Tom Brady's mantra. Like, that's his motto. That's his mindset. I'm my harshest critic. So if you're going to kill me, that's fine. I'm killing myself already. But you don't have to air me out in front of everybody for the world to see. But Tom didn't like that shit. But Bruce wasn't changing for him. Bruce was like, this is how I run my ship. This is what we're going to do. Either you on board or you off. Well, Tom was like, well, I'm out. Cool beans. But the Bucs were so desperate, so thirsty for Tom to come back. It was like, hey, Bruce, man, Bruce, dog, hey, listen, man, we love you. You brought a chip to Tampa. Here's what we want to do. We want to offer you a job in the front office. Bruce is like, but I'm having fun coaching. Yeah, but you know your health. And I mean, look, bro, we trying to take some of this off your plate. Go enjoy life. You can still be around the game and we want you here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Tom doesn't want to play for you and we want Tom back. So you know how it go. Come on, Bruce. You know how it go. And Bruce was like, really? All right, it's cool. Don't worry about it. You said y'all had a job for me in the front office? All right, I'll take that. Todd gets the job. Everybody wins. You know, Bruce wanted Todd to get a job, and he wanted him to get this job. So everybody wins. Except Todd isn't Bruce. And Tom's taking advantage of the fact that Todd isn't Bruce. And now his play on the field is reflecting that. And it's a trickle-down effect. How are you going to yell at me? And this is the shit that Tom Brady has done for years. But it's different when we're all subjected to the same thing and we're all abiding by the same rules. So you can come at me when you're the greatest of all time and you can get in my shit and all in my mix and you can crush me for making a mistake. Why? Because you're Tom Brady and we're all in this together and we're all doing the same shit. You know when it changes? You know when I start tuning you out? You know when I say, hey, Tom, get the hell out of my face? I don't want to hear that shit from you. When your ass is off at a party on a Friday while the rest of us are walking through, getting ready for the game on Sunday. When you're off chilling on a Wednesday while we're all out here getting the install for the week's preparation for the game, we all out here putting in work. You are off on the side chilling or you back at the crib. That's when I stop listening to you. I don't want to hear you bitching about a third down protection. Your ass won't hear on Friday. You can't say shit to me. They look like a team that is disjointed, and it starts at the top. I ain't got any marriage advice. I got football advice for Tom. Edward Washington, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, where do you rank Greg Roman among other OCs? He's a unique cat because of what he's done in Baltimore. I don't think he could take that shit and do it anywhere else because, again, Lamar Jackson doesn't exist anywhere else around the league. You can find guys that strive to be Lamar Jackson, but there's no carbon copy. Lamar is a one of one. He's a unicorn. And so Greg Roman is the maestro of this type of offense. He did it with Colin Kaepernick, which is why they brought him on board in Baltimore. Because he was so successful with Colin Kaepernick, they figured if he can do it for Kaepernick, he should be able to do it for Lamar Jackson. And he has. If I'm a team, I want no parts of Greg Roman because I don't have Lamar Jackson. I don't have Colin Kaepernick in his prime. So Greg Roman can do nothing for me unless there's a guy coming up, down the pipeline from college football, like the kid from Florida. I want no parts of him because he can't throw the football. Not to my liking, at least. Richardson, Anthony Richardson. But Lamar's a unicorn. He's a one of one. So Greg Roman's fine. I think he's a smart, offensive mind. I think he does wonders with what they've done. They've built this offense around Lamar, which is why he's getting the bag in Baltimore. There's no way they can let him walk away. They've built this team around Lamar Jackson's strengths. So you can't let him walk away and blow this thing up. And I'd be damned if I sit here and let people try to tell me and want to talk to me. I'm like, yo, get out my ear, bro. I ain't trying to hear that shit. See? I ain't, what's your man's over here got to do with me? We got a QB. I ain't trying to hear that. See? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't talk to me about the kid from Utah. Trying to convince me that he can be Lamar Jackson. Like, hey, we can win with him. Bullshit. You tried it last year. How'd that go for you? Lamar got hurt with y'all 8-3. How the hell you missed the playoffs? If my mans can do it over here. Again, what your man's got to do with me? We got a QB. I ain't trying to hear that, see? And I don't want to hear, hey, I think he could be really good if somebody gave him a chance. He should get a job somewhere. Well, you go and give him a job somewhere else. I want no parts of him. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Number 2. Forgot his goddamn name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. They're going to keep Lamar and they're going to pay Lamar. I like Greg Roman. I don't love him, but I love him in the environment that he's in Baltimore with the quarterback and the personnel. I think he's been outstanding in that role. So Greg Roman is fine, but I don't love Greg Roman. I'll just say that. Dejon Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejon writes, you think we'll see more of Curl at linebacker this week? I mean, he's down in the box quite a bit. He in that, Buffalo nickel. I don't see that changing this week, but with the injury to Cole, it may be out of necessity that he's down, around the line of scrimmage a lot more. So that's the assumption. No matter what, whether Cole's playing or not, Cam's going to be down by the box, down inside the box by the line of scrimmage. But it may be even more so this week with, the injury. You're playing against a team that wants to run the football. And with this new quarterback coming in, I would expect us to not be with such a light box. I don't think you're going to see a lot of, 4-1-6 or even 4-2-5. And if you do, that fifth defensive back is going to be Cam Curl, and he's going to be coming down into the box as a pseudo linebacker, that Buffalo nickel, if you will, and giving you that extra defender. Like, you can't have light boxes against the likes of a Indianapolis Colts football team because they want to run the football. And I think this is the week that I think they're going to try to get back to the ground and pound style because of the quarterback that's going to be playing. They want to protect him. It's his first career NFL start. They're not going to want to overload him. They don't want him throwing it 35 times in his first career start. So they're going to want to run the football with Jonathan Taylor. And so you heard our guest today, our guy Cody from Bring the Juice, Colts podcast. He told us Jonathan, Taylor kind of got lathered up last week. Only 10 carries, but he averaged roughly 6 yards per tote. So that tells you they're starting to feel confident that they can run the football. You add in a guy with some legs and a different element, sort of like what the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts. It adds another dimension to your offense when you've got to account for the quarterback and his legs. So without a doubt, Cam Curl is going to be down around the line of scrimmage, and we're going to have to stop the run. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DJ23 writes, to get JD on the field more, I want to see what he can do on punts. I don't see that. All right. I don't see JD McKissic being a punt returner. So I know people want to see him more, see him get more opportunities. I don't see JD McKissic as a punt returner. You can't just put a guy in a position just because you want him to touch the football more. It's one thing if you said JD should be on kickoffs. That's different, even though that's not him either. He trips over his own damn foot half the time. So, but it's one thing to catch a kickoff when no one's breathing down your neck. It's another thing to catch it while, somebody standing right there. It's just, you got to be, again, you got to be wired differently to catch punts. He's not set up to catch punts. Opportunities for him will have to come in the course of the game. So, anyway, I digress. All right. If you're out there and you're new to the channel, welcome. Super chats are the best way to have your comment read. For those of you who do want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive. I will get to your comments if there's enough time, but super chats are always going to be first and take precedence over hashtag comments. But let's get to our first hashtag of the night from Niners fan, who writes, while he's not nearly as fast, I'll easily take my guy Fred over D. White. I would as well. And I've learned over the years, one of the things that I've learned is that speed isn't everything at linebacker. Instincts are everything at the linebacker position. Homework and film study and effort. These are things you can't coach. You give me a guy with a relentless motor and the work ethic and the film study, knows what's coming before it happens, that guy will find the football before the guy with all the physical traits and tools, but doesn't know what the hell's going on in front of him, because he's going to play slow and he's going to hesitate, and he who hesitates is last, right? So Fred Warner, to me, hell, Shaq Leonard, these guys to me are better than Devin White. And I remember at one point we were looking at Devin White as one of the prototypes. I always felt like the best linebacker of this generation of linebackers, the guy that kind of changed the games, sort of like how Steph Curry changed the game in the NBA with, shooting the three and shooting off the dribble and all that shit. That guy for me was Ryan Shazier. He was the first kind of compact, small linebacker, 215, 220, to come in the league and really be dynamic. And Shazier might have been heavier than, I might be underrated him. He probably was more like 230, 225, still super light for middle linebacker. We came up in an era where middle linebackers were 250, 245. Bobby Wagner's 245. Like, that's the size. Ray Lewis, 245, 240, 250. And Shazier was flying around smashing dudes. And I thought Devin White looked like he was on par to be that kind of a linebacker. And he doesn't have it, man. And he started out like gangbusters, but he's definitely fallen off for sure. And still think he's a good football player, but nonetheless. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, DJ23, who writes, thanks, Lou. I've been trying to tell people who want to give Huntley a chance. The only time he succeeds is in the preseason. Huntley is the perfect backup quarterback. That's his role. That's where he's supposed to be. He doesn't need to start in Baltimore. He doesn't need to start anywhere else. He needs to be a backup quarterback. I can't tell you how many people have tried to convince me that this guy's good and he needs an opportunity. For what? For what? He's a backup quarterback. So I laugh at the people that say, hey, let Lamar walk. We got Tyler Huntley. Oh, yeah? I dare you to let Lamar walk. I double dog. I triple dog dare you. Let him walk. Start Tyler Huntley. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Let's see. Back to the top. My guy Ree writes, worst team in football since week 3. This shit is over. We're done. Tank. Again, you play in the worst division in football. So that statement is asinine. I mean, you remind me of my guy, JP. When shit's going well, JP's on cloud 9, but the minute shit goes south, he bails, and quickly. Now, I know you. We've been at this for a long time. and I know you're emotionally invested, so this really is pissing you off. But and I know if the team fights, you'll fight along with them, because there were years where you'd be hovering around 500 and you'd be right there to the bitter end. You're not seeing that same fight from this team. We've talked, in DMs and things of that nature. So I know how you feel about this team. However, understand what division you play in. It'd be one thing if the Saints were running away with this thing and they were 6-1 right now, then you could talk that talk. At 3-5, you're a half game out of first place in the division, pending what the Falcons do against the Panthers this weekend. If the Panthers beat the Falcons, you're back in first place at 3-5. Actually, it'd be a three-way tie with Carolina. Listen to what I'm saying. The Panthers, who were just the worst team in football 2 weeks ago, started selling off their parts. If they beat Atlanta, they're in a three-way tie for first place, but they own the tiebreaker over both Atlanta and Tampa after beating them in consecutive weeks. Wrap your brain around that for a second. If you're a Washington Commanders fan, you know the struggle, because we were in a division just 2 years ago that was just as nasty and disgusting as the NFC South is right now. But still, that's hard to fathom that the Panthers, who just traded away their best player, Christian McCaffrey, okay, and they've got other pieces that people are monitoring. I don't think they're going to move any more guys, at least not ones that, are noteworthy, but, they're trying to get rid of some parts and build up their draft capital stash. They may have the thing that they don't want to have happen, which is they may ultimately make the playoffs and end up with the 21st pick in the draft by virtue of winning the division. Could you imagine that? I said all of that to say this, Ree, as bad as your team has been playing, and they suck right now, they are not a good football team. You're still going to win that division. It's awful, man. Your division is horrendous. And you're going to be Atlanta is intriguing because they don't know any better. They don't know that they're supposed to suck. Similar to Seattle. They just and Seattle's different because they're just well coached. They understand what they're doing in Seattle. Atlanta's different because jury's still out on Arthur Smith. But they don't know any better. They don't know that they're supposed to suck. I keep waiting for Marcus Mariota to go down to an injury. I'm not rooting for it. I'm not looking for it. I expect it to happen. It hasn't happened yet. He's playing well, not great, but well enough. And he gives them another element with his legs. It's interesting on what's been going on to this point. You're still going to win the division if you ask me, Ree. But I know you're not trying to hear that shit right now. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Video Channel writes, Lou, early thoughts on Kyle Hamilton. I knew people would be interested in him, especially Washington fans, because we had a chance to select him and we didn't. And we never had a true opportunity. We traded back and the Ravens took him before he fell to us the second time we had a chance to hit the board. They weren't interested in Kyle Hamilton, though. I've got it on authority. Someone in that room with knowledge of the draft board, he was never an option for Washington in the first round. So there's that. But he is what I thought he was. I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. I told you this guy's really talented, but he's got limitations to his game. He's not fast. We saw that at the combine. And so you have to be careful of what situations. In short areas underneath, like he had a great play at the goal line with Cade Otton where he broke. Like he can do that. He can do that. All right. In short areas where he's allowed to use his length, and he's quick. He's not fast, but he's quick. He can, make some things happen, but it's his length that's going to give him a chance. He's been solid. He hasn't been great for the Ravens this season as a rookie, but he's continuing to come along. I think they're figuring out how to use him best, and he's been okay. He's been okay. F. Altus, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. F. Altus, thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. PJ Walker running away with this division, ain't he? MVP. Is this the year of the backup quarterback, Lou? It could be. I mean, shit. PJ Walker, and I don't know if he'll continue to get the nod in Carolina or not. I assume that Sam Darnold will be healthy at some point. Maybe they give him, they pass the torch to him. Hell, they may need to take it away from PJ Walker if they start winning too many damn games, if they're really serious about getting this quarterback situation fixed once and for all. They may need to take the ball from PJ because PJ, again, just like in Atlanta, he doesn't know any better. PJ's playing for his life out here. He's like, look, man, I got mouths to feed over here, man. I gotta get it any way I can. If I gotta get it out the mud, I'm gonna take it. You know, if I gotta lead my team to a 7-10 victory record and that be good enough for a playoff spot, so be it. But I don't know. It could be the year of the backup. Who knows? I mean, Cooper Rush has already gone 4-1 for Dallas. Heineke's got an opportunity to do some things for Washington. PJ Walker got a big win last week. We'll see if he can follow that up with an encore performance on the road at Atlanta. Geno Smith isn't technically a backup, but he's been a career backup for the most part. But I got to respect Geno as a starter. He was the guy week 1. I'm not going to do that to him. But, you know, you look around the league, guys have been stepping in, getting the job done. Maybe it is the year. I mean, Sam Ehlinger is going to get an opportunity in Indy. They're 3-3-1. It's not like they're 5-1. They're 3-3-1 and right in the mix. So who's to say what's going to happen with him? A lot of football left to be played. I'll just say that. Andy Dalton's now the guy in New Orleans. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think that's going nowhere fast, but still. I get your drift. I get your point. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, OG, triple OG. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes. Lou, Chauncey, with 3 receivers out, it's set for Cam Sims. 3 receivers out. You know something that I don't know? I know of Jahan being out, and Diami may be out. He hasn't been ruled out yet. He probably won't play. That's 2. Who's this 3rd receiver that you're talking about? Like, don't be putting stuff out in the atmosphere, OG, triple OG. All right. We need all the guys we can get out on the football field. So don't be putting no bad juju out there so you can get your boy some run. Okay. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the hashtags. Ree says, blow it all up. We're done. Mine is on April now. Again, I would love to go along with this spiel, but your division sucks, dude. As badly as you would love to say, just, I don't even want the shit. It ain't what you want. It's what you gonna get. That there is, look, I'll just leave it at this. Yep, Bucs are struggling. They don't look like a team worth a damn. You could question the effort right now. You could question the coaching, the desire, all of that stuff. All of it is legit. What you can't question is that you still have the best quarterback in the division by miles. Miles. Okay? When it's all said and done, you've already beaten New Orleans in New Orleans. All right. You've already beaten Atlanta. That, mind you, it was in Tampa, but you've already beaten Atlanta and you've lost to Carolina. So what? The Panthers ultimately are going to suck. Okay. They're ultimately going to be one of the worst teams in football. So whether you want to or not, you're going to win this division by default. By default. Reese says, a cemetery has more life than this team. We have given up. We don't care. I don't think that's true. I just don't think that they understand or nor see the light at the end of the tunnel. And again, it's hard. You know, I was listening to them before the game talk about Levante David, you know, trying to get these guys motivated, telling them, look, I've seen this before. I know what this looks like. Trust me, before Tom came here, a lot of dark days in Tampa Bay. I hadn't seen the playoffs a day in my life, you know, with this team until Tom showed up here. So I know what mediocrity looks like. Y'all don't want any parts of this shit, man. It's suffocating. It's debilitating. You don't want this. That shit fell on deaf ears. It fell on deaf ears. Clearly. I won't say they're lifeless, but there's a lot of dudes that just ain't getting it done. Reese says, every team plays us the same way and we still can't stop it. Well, I think that's more of a byproduct of Todd Bowles. Now, you can say what you want about Todd, and I've got my reservations about him as a head coach. There's no secret about that. I thought he got a raw deal in New York, so I was happy for him to get this opportunity, but I know his temperament. I know how he operates. I was hoping that there was enough veteran leadership on this team that he would just be able to kind of steer the ship. Not having to really do anything major, not actually having to go up there and rig the sails up in a particular way and then grab the wheel of the boat and turn it one way and try to fight crashing waves. I thought he was just going to be on some smooth sailing shit. Sailing takes me away to where I wanna. Like, I thought we was going to be on some shit like that. And we're far from that. These seas are rough, and he's actually got to navigate this boat. He ain't built for that shit. I thought it was enough veterans, Brady and Levante David, and all these guys. And I just, maybe they missed JPP, maybe they missed Ndamukong Suh, maybe they missed some of these veterans that were a calming force and an influence on some of these younger guys to get them motivated. I remember seeing something similar in Jacksonville. I remember in 2017, that team being really good, and they had a lot of veterans, including Paul Posluszny on that defense. And then Paul Posluszny retired, and it's like this shit fell apart. Telvin Smith was like, F it, I don't want to play no more. Jalen Ramsey wanted out. AJ Bouye was gone, and all of a sudden it just, Dante Fowler Jr. wanted out, and it was just piece after piece. And it was like the shit just disintegrated, and there wasn't enough veteran leadership. It was the blind leading the blind. That's not what's happening in Tampa. But it's a lot of young players on that roster, man. It's a lot of young players on that roster. Anyway, I digress. He said, this shit is too easy for our opponents. They barely have to try. Again, I disagree with that. And honestly, I think I was going, this is where I was going, and I got sidetracked because that's what I do. I go off on tangents and things of that nature. But I said, you can say what you want about Todd Bowles. And yes, I have my reservations about him as a head coach, but this shit is on the players, man. Like, for me, Brady's missing too many throws that I am not accustomed to seeing him miss. And we can sit here and we can make excuses about this, the offensive line and, the timing and the rhythm. These are the same dudes he's been playing with since he got to Tampa, outside of a select few. Okay. Yeah. Cade Otton hasn't been here. And yeah, the other tight end from the Vikings and the Giants last year. Yeah, he just got here this year. But Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, these guys have been here. Right? Like, I don't want to hear that shit. Cameron Brady's been here. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that the timing's off. Brady's missing dudes. Your timing and rhythm is off. Don't take 2 weeks off in training camp then. Get your shit together. I don't want to hear the excuses. Brady is missing dudes. Brady's missing dudes. And then now, while I will say coaching comes into play, their red zone efficiency is in the toilet. It's in the damn toilet. Stinks. Tell me who's playing worse football than us since week 3. You can't. I can tell you easy. The Houston Texans, they haven't won a game. The Detroit Lions stink right now. You can tell me that they're playing hard. Who gives a shit if you're losing every week? I don't give a ham sandwich about somebody playing hard if you're getting your brains bashed in every week. Hard don't pay the bills, and playing hard don't get you a mark in the left-hand column. The Lions suck, the Texans suck, and the Jags haven't won a game since, I think, week 3. After week 3, they beat the Chargers in week 3. They haven't won a game since. They may not be worse. They don't look worse than you. The Lions do. Absolutely, they do. The Lions stink. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Do have a super chat, actually. I'll take this one from Metaphor, then I'll get to that super. My guy Metaphor writes, I'm a Brady fan and wanted them to win, but a conference L can only help us, so I can't complain. But this is the thing. In that particular division, it doesn't matter what's going on. They're getting one bid from that division. Nobody in that division is getting anywhere near a wild card. So you don't, that's why I don't care what happens to the teams in that division. Beat the shit out of each other, beat some other teams along the way, have at it. Nobody, the team that wins that division is probably going to do it with 9 wins, which means whomever doesn't win the division probably going to have 8 or less wins. That shit's not going to be good enough to get you in the playoffs in the NFC. So you don't have to root for Brady and them to have a division, because at the end of the day, whomever wins that division, that's going to be the only bid from that division. There are one bid division is the NFC North. Or excuse me, South. So it doesn't matter. If Brady doesn't win the division, they're not going to the playoffs. But they're going to win the division. Got a super. I'm going to take that real quick. Chauncey Davis, my guy. OG, triple OG. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Cole Turner. Well, he's not a receiver. OG, triple OG. He's a tight end. So technically that doesn't help Cam Sims in the, moving up the depth chart, role. However, the only thing I can say is that if they decided they wanted to throw the football to a bigger target down in the red zone, Sims would be the man that would take advantage of an opportunity of Cole Turner. You saw who they threw it to last week when they tried to go back shoulder fade. Even though it was a poor throw by Heineke, it was Cole Turner. So the next guy in line for that kind of a ball would probably be Cam Sims. So from that point, from that standpoint, rather, yeah, I could see how that could benefit Cam Sims, but Cole Turner's a tight end, so it wouldn't necessarily affect how much playing time Cam Sims, gets. Washington football fan WGIL, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, are you sure the third receiver down isn't D's nuts? Yeah, that would have been a good one had Luck been lurking and had phrased it in the right way. That would have been a good one. But no, it's the third receiver isn't D's nuts. R. Smith, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. R. Smith writes, what up, Lou? What's up, R. Smith? He says, off topic here, but what do you think of Cincy trading for Terrence Marshall? I have Chase in Dynasty and I have Marshall in my bench. I mean, the Bengals don't have to do anything drastic. I mean, why would you want to trade for Terrence Marshall when you've already got 3 receivers? And granted, Terrence Marshall, is only in year 2 of a rookie contract. So technically speaking, if you were to trade for him, you'd have him under contract for the next 3 seasons. And then you would have, right of first refusal after his contract expires because he's not a first round pick. That said, I don't see the Bengals needing to do anything. This is why they have so much depth at receiver. This is why you got, T. Higgins. This is why you got Tyler Boyd. This is why you have all of those guys on your roster. They've got other receivers that they like too that can step in and fill the void while Chase is out. No, the offense isn't going to be as dynamic, and no, Jamar Chase, there isn't anybody else on the team like him. There aren't many guys in the league like him, but it's only 4 to 6 weeks. Not like this dude's done for the rest of the season. They got to navigate this with what they've got, and they should be able to do that. So I don't see them making a move like that and giving up draft capital to make it happen. He'd be an interesting guy, though, if a team was looking to get a young receiver and give him a change of scenery. He'd be interesting for me. A team like the Giants, I feel like it'd benefit them to go get a Terrence Marshall. What would it hurt you? You got nothing at receiver right now. You just traded away Kadarius Toney, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't hurt them. He wasn't playing anyway. You felt like you wasted a first-round pick. Might as well recoup something for that. But they need receiver help. Like, you can't continue this charade at the receiver position and expect to get away with it. Look, they're playing with house money, are the Giants. So they're not complaining about anything because they're playing with house money, honestly speaking. All right. Let's see. Reese says, I have seen mentality like this before, Lou. It was during our 3 and 4 win years. These guys have checked out. That's one thing as a fan of a perennial loser. That look. When you see guys not locked in and what that leads to. Again, you've seen it with your team. You know what that looks like. I can't tell you any different. I can just tell you this. The division that you play in, having gone through this, listen to what I'm telling you, Reed. And I know you don't want to hear this because your team sucks right now. But guess what? I've gone through what you're about to go through as a fan of a team that won a division at 7-9. I'm telling you right now what's going to happen in your division. Your division sucks, and you're not going to win very many games unless something changes drastically with your football team, which right now I don't see happening, but anything is possible because you have Tom Brady, okay? You have the great equalizer in Tom Brady, and you do have talent on that football team. So I'm not going to count you out. However, if things continue down the path that it is currently going, guess what? No one in your division is going to win very many games outside of the division. You know what they're going to do, though? Beat the hell out of each other within the division. We won 7 games in 2020, and I want to say 4 of them came in the division. Let me think. We swept Dallas, we swept Philadelphia, and we got swept by the Giants. So we won 4 games of our 7 in the division. That tells you all you need to know. Like, you've already won 2 out of 3 games in the division. You've got 3 more in the division. The likelihood is that you'll at least win 2 out of 3 of those. Go 4-2. That's 2 more wins. You'll probably need 8 or 9 to get you to the playoffs. You're going to get what you need. Understand that. Reese says, let Devin White walk. I'm dead ass serious. Dude has all the talent in the world, but he is lazy as hell. I saw Todd Bowles giving him an earful on the sidelines. They showed a clip. They showed some cut-ups of him getting his ass blocked and looking like he didn't give a shit about getting blocked. I remember once upon a time, what did you call him? The Great White? Something you used to call him. The knight in shining armor, some shit you used to call him. I remember once upon a time where you couldn't stop, raining praise on this guy. And now you're telling me he's ass and let him walk? My God, have you done a 180 on this dude? That's crazy. I mean, after every game, you would tell me how effing great Devin White was and how glad you were to have him. And now you're ready to quit on this dude? Interesting. Reese says, Detroit stinks, but at least they play hard. This team isn't playing hard. I will grant you this. Nothing is worse as a fan than watching your team and feeling like they're not giving maximum effort as you're getting your brains bashed in. There's nothing worse than that. So I can relate to that. Now, I can't relate to my team under this regime not playing hard, but there were other coaching staffs that were in Washington where the teams would get their asses handed to them, and it would look like they were just there to collect the check. They could care less. As long as the check was there on Wednesday, they were fine. Again, I don't get that feel from this team, but I'm not watching them as closely as you are. And so you probably can tell the difference between maximum effort with your team and, getting, 50% of what you should be getting out of these players. I don't see that. I saw a tired defense that was on the field a ton. The time of possession was so skewed in the favor of the Ravens because your offense failed to sustain itself. I didn't see guys not hustling. I saw guys gassed. I saw that defense flying around early in the ball game. But eventually, the offense wasn't making plays and taking advantage of the field position, and then the Ravens started to wear you down, and they started to extend drives, and they started to, start to stack those plays up on top of each other. I saw a team that just didn't have any juice. I saw a quarterback missing open receivers and not with the timing and rhythm that you would like to see them having 8 weeks into the season. I saw an offense out of sync. I saw a defense that was absolutely gassed. They didn't look like that in the first half. The Ravens scored 3 points in the first half of this game. The defense was fine. I didn't see guys quitting. I saw tired guys in the second half of this game. Got another super chat. This one is from Mr. Pink. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I bet $100 on the Bucs to score a TD on the first drive. Nice. That's some sweet action right there because they didn't score another touchdown until the fourth quarter. So you knew something. You were on to something there. Excuse me. Let's see. And let me just add to the Detroit stinks, but they play hard. You wouldn't be a happy fan of the Detroit Lions. So stop that, Ree. You wouldn't be excited. Well, at least we play hard. No, it sucks getting your ass beat every week. I don't give a shit how hard you play. This isn't Little League. We're not giving out gold stars and a juice box and a bag of chips to everybody that participates, and everybody gets a participation gold medal and a star. We're not handing those out for playing hard. Great job, Johnny. You gave it your all. Here's a sticker. Don't nobody give a shit about that. You either win or you lose in this league. And the Lions lose every week. They suck. Playing hard or not, I get it. And I've already stated this. As a fan, there's nothing worse than watching your team go out, get their ass handed to them, and not give maximum effort in the process of getting their ass handed to them. Nobody wants to watch that. And it makes you, there's some pride that you take in your team playing hard to the bitter end. And you don't feel like your team is doing that right now. And I can't tell you how to feel. I'm just giving you my opinion. I didn't see that tonight, but that doesn't mean that didn't exist last week. I thought last week I saw more of that than this week. Got another super. This one here from FL2. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I got to side with Ree here. Devin White refuses to do his job and wants to freelance out there too much. He needs a change of scenery, I think. Guys with his talent often find themselves in that predicament where they're so talented, they get away with so many things because of their athletic prowess. And so LeVar Arrington was one of those guys in Washington, often out of place, never doing his job, but because he was such a gifted athlete, he could get away with a lot of nonsense. And players took exception to that because, hey, when it works, everything's fine. No one's going to question you. No one's going to say anything. But when the shit starts to affect us and you're not doing your job, and now you not doing your job affects me doing my job, and now I look bad, you're affecting my paycheck. Now I got a problem with your shit because you're affecting the rest of the defense. And that's why LeVar Arrington didn't get along with the coaching staff and some of his teammates. And I think Devin White, I don't necessarily feel like that's the same, case with him, but you can see a guy that is not always where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. He takes poor angles, but a lot of times, even when he takes poor angles, he's so damn fast, it makes up for the poor angle that he took. But you know what's even better is being super fast and taking proper angles to the football. It makes you even more of a deadly football player. So there's a lot of holes in Devin White's game, and maybe a change of scenery is needed for him. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but Anyway, I digress. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. I know a lot of teams would take him. That's for sure. Tampa Bay didn't want him. Mr. Pink, double up. Thank you for doubling up. Mr. Pink, who writes, here's another super for my guy, LT. Who else could it be? I appreciate you, Mr. Pink. He says, got to spread the wealth, pay it forward. I appreciate that greatly. He says, question, who scores first for Washington this Sunday? I'm going to say the first points of the game for Washington is a field goal. So it'd be Joey Sly. Now, if you're talking end zone wise, I will say that the first touchdown of the game, I'm going to throw a change up at you and say it's Curtis Samuel. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. He scored the very first touchdown of the season. And for the Commanders, and in the Commanders' history, he scored the first touchdown. Hasn't scored one since. I think he's dying to taste pay dirt. And I was on why am I blanking on the name of the show that I was on earlier today? Let me pull out my phone because I'm going to be tripping and I'm going to be busting my brain trying to think about it. And I'm going to be pissed off. The Burgundy Zone. I was on their podcast today. And they made a great point that one of the guys on the show, on the panel, made a great point that I've already talked about. The matchup of Stephon Gilmore versus Terry is going to be fun because he's probably going to shadow him and have star coverage the entire game. But, he said Curtis Samuel has a chance to be the difference maker in the game. Because it would have been great if we would have had Jahan Dotson, that we really would have been able to put some real stress on that defense with the third receiver. But I think Curtis is the guy that benefits from Stephon Gilmore traveling with Terry McLaurin. He's going to get one-on-one a ton against guys that he should be able to win against. So I think Curtis Samuel is the guy that gets the first touchdown in the game. Edward Washington, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Brady looks like Tiger Woods after his cheating scandal. His killer instinct is shot. He's definitely, and I thought that Al Michaels did a great job of kind of laying out the mindset of Tom Brady right now, and Brady's very measured and calculated with the words that he's using. He doesn't want to insinuate anything. He never wants anybody to know when he's going to finally call it quits. He never wants to put himself in a box that way. I think he did that with his wife, where he told her, hey, honey, this is it. I'm retiring after this year. You can go back to work. I'm ready to be home with the kids and let you get back into the workforce. She thought that's what was going to happen. Brady initially retired, and, he probably remembers what Peyton Manning told him over and over again. And all the other guys that have, jumped into the realm of retirement. And I remember Manning very vividly telling Tom Brady, bro, play as long as you can, because once the shit is over, it's over and you're going to miss it and there's no turning back. Play until you can't play anymore. And every guy will tell you that. There's no replicating, playing in these games, being around your fellow teammates. The roar of the crowd, there's no replacing that. And I think Brady was like, damn, I'm not done yet. I still got an itch. So he came back. But I think the whole family dynamic thing is weighing on him. And I honestly think he's taking advantage of being a 45-year-old, Hall of Fame GOAT quarterback that kind of has the free reins to do whatever the hell he wants to do. I don't think that shit is healthy at all, honestly speaking. But we will see. All right, we're getting close to our limit. We're done with super chats, but I got a few more hashtags that I want to take. Reese says, this team used to act like men, play like champions. Again, that was under a different head coach. And I'm not telling you Todd Bowles isn't capable of getting that kind of effort out of those guys. But I don't think that's his demeanor. I don't think Todd is a quiet dude, sort of stoic. I'm pretty sure he's a little bit more animated behind the scenes, but it's not the same fire that BA was lighting under their ass. That's for sure. To me, it's not the same standard that BA was holding these dudes to, because BA didn't care. He air your ass out right after the game to the media. Like, bro, I don't give a shit. But what you're not going to do is embarrass me out on that football field and think I'm not going to embarrass you in turn. Nah, you want to go tit for tat, we could do that. The same level of accountability. I think that's at its core, that's the biggest problem, is the accountability piece isn't there with this Buccaneers team. And it starts with Brady. I've already said that. How are you going to hold anybody accountable when you decide to do the things that you've done this season? Because you can, because you're Tom Brady. I think the lack of accountability is hurting this team. And they've had some injuries too. Don't get it twisted. But the lack of accountability, I think, is hurting this team. And that's where you may miss a JPP. That's where you may miss an Ndamukong Suh. That's where you may miss a couple of those guys that were on the offensive line a season ago who have moved on to greener pastures. Reese says, fire Todd Bowles. He drained the life out of this team. If he is like this with Brady, why would he be better with a lesser QB? He's a horrible head coach. I can't call him a horrible head coach. Just some guys aren't head coaching material, and he may be one of those dudes. And they may have to face that. You may be dealing with a coach that just isn't cut out to be a head coach, and that's okay. Not everybody's made to be a head coach. Some guys are excellent as defensive coordinators, like Dick LeBeau, for instance. Wade Phillips is another. Guys that have gotten opportunities as head coaches and not been successful, but long-time defensive coordinators that got it done at a high level. Romeo Crennel, I could go on and on with these defensive coordinators. Maybe he's one of those guys. I think he really, truly is. Commander Joe 21, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Louis, Samuel scores first TD on a run play. Hashtag HTTC. Now, I didn't say how he was going to score. I don't care how he scores, but I think he's going to score. And you know what? I want to see him score on a run, because that means Scott Turner is dialing up a run play for Curtis Samuel on a week where he didn't have 11 days to prepare, or 3 weeks to prepare, or 2 weeks to prepare. Because that's been the thing for me, is Curtis Samuel hasn't touched it enough on the ground in weeks 2 through 6. He did in week 1. He did in week 7. I want to see him be more a part of the run game, because when he is a part of the run game, it's dynamic and it changes how you have to defend. Like, he goes in ghost motion 80 million times. Well, you got to, in order to keep the defense honest, you got to actually hand it to him. They did that on Sunday. So I want to see more of it. Edward Washington, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Edward writes, off the top of your head, name a head coach with a laid-back personality. Well, we just talked about Todd Bowles. There are a lot of coaches with that kind of a demeanor. A lot of the younger coaches are fiery. They're animated. They're excited. So let's go through the different divisions. NFC West, we know Pete and Shanahan and McVay can be all fiery. Cliff Kingsbury, I think he's a laid-back dude. Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, shit, Kyler Murray got in his ass on national television, and he sat there and took that shit. If that ain't laid back, I don't know what is. I can tell you this. Lamar Jackson ain't going over there and fussing at Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. That shit ain't flying. So I'd say Cliff Kingsbury is another one. NFC North. I don't know Kevin O'Connell's personality other than what we saw of him in Washington, and he's got a laid back personality. If that's any indication of what he is, which I think it is, then Kevin O'Connell is a laid back dude. Yeah, Matt LaFleur, he can be kind of laid back, but he can also be animated. We know what Dan Campbell is. He's a character. And Chicago, Matt Eberflus, jury's still out on him. NFC East, Ron Rivera, can be fiery at times. Normally he's got his arms folded looking crazy, but he can be fiery at times. Nick Sirianni is fiery. Dallas's head coach, Mike McCarthy, is laid back. Super chill, which is why they hired him. They don't want anybody that's going to push back against the establishment. They want a puppet, somebody that they can control like they did Jason Garrett, Redhead Jesus for all those years. They got a similar guy in Mike McCarthy. He's super laid back. So that's another one. And then the Giants have a fiery coach in Brian Daboll. NFC South, Todd Bowles, we already mentioned him. Dennis Allen can be animated at times, even though he's somewhat laid back. He can be animated. Carolina's got, I think that's another guy that is somewhat animated. I mean, somewhat, reserved. Steve Wilkes, who was the coach in Arizona for a year before getting fired. He's another laid back dude. Doesn't say a ton. But I think he could be animated at times. But he's a pretty chill guy. And then you've got the Falcons, Arthur Smith. I ain't really sure about Arthur Smith. So you see where we don't even need to go through the AFC, but yeah, there's other guys that are laid back for sure. All right. I think I'll take 2 more hashtags and then we'll get out of here. Reese says, I see a disinterested team, Lou. I see no spirit, no passion, no desire. I know quit when I see quit. I know bad football. This will not get better. And you may be right about all those things except the last statement about not getting better, because you still have to play 3 games against the worst division. And again, you've still got Tom Brady at quarterback. You're not going 0 for the remainder of the year outside of the division. Okay, you're not going 0 for outside of the division. You're going to win 2 or 3 more games there, and you're going to win 2 or 3 more games within the division. And you're going to look up at the end of the season, and you're going to be an 8-9 win team, and that's going to be good enough to get you a divisional crown, whether you like it or not. And remember, I'm telling you this. Remember, I said it. Reese says, the young guys are playing hard. Rashad White, Cade Otton, but that's it. I thought I saw Justin Shoyinka, Tryon Shoyinka, playing hard out there. I saw a lot of the guys. I mean, Keanu Neal plays hard. Not always smart, but he plays hard. I was somewhat disappointed late in the game at the tackling, but again, those guys were tired. So, what are you going to do? Anyway, I digress. All right, let's get out of here. We've hit our landmark time. No more super chats. So we're going to exit stage left. I thank you guys for joining me on the show tonight. Bucs, man, they look bad. They look bad. The Packers look bad. Like, I'm just flabbergasted how bad some of these teams look with their personnel and what we expected and what we're getting. The Bucs are terrible right now. It's funny. I was talking to Boss before the game, and he picked Baltimore and I picked Tampa. And I told him, I said, well, you losing a nut, because he's been sorry on Thursday nights this year. And he'd only, up until this point, he only won 1 Thursday night game. And I said, well, you're losing again. And I feel good, because normally whoever you pick loses. So I feel good about my pick. And it started out the way that it did, 10-3, and I'm thinking, it's dumbass. I got him again. And now he's got the last laugh, and he's laughing at my dumbass. And it's just frustrating because you think you know and you have no idea. And he told me flat out on the phone. He said, Tampa Bay ass is sorry. The ass is sorry. He said that damn defense done fell off. He was right. He was right. I said, well, they got Julio Jones. Julio! They got Julio Jones back this week. He said, so what? What? He gonna catch what? One ball? I said, and it's gonna be 1 for 56 in a touchdown. He said, man, be for real. I think Julio Jones had one catch in the game. It was a touchdown, but I think he had one catch in the game. He had one catch and one run. And I swear, after that run, he got up slow and walked off the field. I was like, I know this MFer did not just get hurt. I said, if he got hurt, they need to cut him, and he doesn't need to play another snap of football because he's made of glass now. But he came back in the game. But that doesn't mean shit. He could be done. I don't know. I said all that to say this. Damn, I was wrong about the Bucs tonight, and boy, do they stink. And Boss was right. Damn, they stink right now. Anyway, I digress. I got a super chat here from Mike McCarthy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, not true. I get fired up if I don't get my biscuits. He was fired up on Hard Knocks, right? He was fired up on Hard Knocks. If I don't get my biscuits. You guys are hilarious. Get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be back tomorrow for another installment of the Louie T Network podcast. If everything works itself out, one of the little ones has an ailment right now, so we're trying to get him where he needs to be. If we can't, then you won't see me tomorrow. If we can, then I'll be all up in your face, deleting the airspace, and we'll be chopping it up on the Louie T Network podcast. But until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. God bless, and good night.
Louie T Network.